Have you ever realized there's not as many small businesses as there was 70 years ago? The markets in modern-day America are slowly running out of business. This is not from products becoming scarcer, but it is instead from the larger companies that dominate the market. Almost every market in America is dominated by a small number of companies, and it is becoming a serious problem for family-owned businesses to stay afloat. These monopolies must stop for America's economy to become more balanced. Monopolies are destroying small businesses by controlling the majority of certain markets. For example, according to Malden, 3 companies control 95% of credit cards, and only 4 companies control 85% of U.S. corn seed sales. These companies can choose the selling price of each of these products because of their size within the market. This creates less competition and eventually leads to these supergiant companies to make more money. The actions of these larger businesses cause most small companies to not make a profit, which eventually leads to them running out of business. These monopolies are obviously also not good for the economy. They should not be considered the American dream because these monopolies are simply not intended to be within America's economy. The small handful of people who run monopolies create misery for millions and millions of people, and this should not be allowed to happen. It doesn't matter if they created the company from scratch. It should still not be allowed to operate as large as it is. According to the United States Department of Justice, the Sherman Antitrust Act makes it a crime to monopolize interstate commerce. However, according to Hall, within the court case State of Minnesota versus Northern Securities Company, the Supreme Court ruled monopolies do not violate the Antitrust Act. Instead, they ruled the certain tactics used to attain the powerful position illegal. To stop monopolies, we must enforce the Sherman Antitrust Act stricter. This is the best option because it is already a law created by the U.S. government. This law makes it a crime to monopolize interstate commerce, and it also makes it illegal to suppress small businesses because the monopolies cannot sabotage their products' prices. There is also no expenses for anyone except the CEOs and leaders of each monopoly. People say monopolies are a problem of the past. However, they still exist entirely today, especially within the technological industry. A perfect example of a technological monopoly is Microsoft. According to Wilson, in 1999, Judge Thomas Penfield Jackson ruled that Microsoft used their power and influence to hurt their competitors Netscape Communications Corporation and Sun Microsystems, Inc.
Now, if Bill Gates appeals this, do you think that he will win his case?
No, I think he's going to lose a little bit. I don't think he's going to get what he wants. Unfortunately, there's too much behind it right now. There's too much momentum in this case.
Okay, thank you very much,
You're
Jeff
welcome.
Wood.
In addition to, according to Fitzpatrick, after this ruling, it was stated that Microsoft should be split into 2 companies, one for Windows and one for everything else Microsoft related. Despite being ruled a harmful monopoly over 20 years ago, Microsoft is still operating entirely under one company. This is not acceptable, and it shows the public that the government does not care about these monopolies, and they don't care about small businesses. Modern-day monopolies are not as visible as they were within the past, and they should be viewed from a different angle. For example, John D. Rockefeller's company, Standard Oil, was a much more prominent business than today's version of a monopoly. You were able to see everything and just the amount of things that he owned. And we shouldn't look for a monopoly this way. Instead, we should view monopolies as the percentage a company controls within a market. We will enforce the Sherman Antitrust Act by viewing the giant controllers of certain markets and splitting them into smaller corporations. Anyone who controls more than 50% of a market should be enforced by the Sherman Antitrust Act. This will crush monopolies and allow them to no longer be an issue to smaller businesses. The Sherman Antitrust Act will also split up the giant corporations into smaller, multiple corporations. This will give the smaller businesses a fighting chance and give them a chance to grow. This should start at the biggest monopolies and work its way down. Technology monopolies should also be the first to be taken down. According to Beatty, AT&T, Microsoft, and Meta were already attempted to be dismantled by the government, so they will be the first to force to be split, and then we will start with crops, credit cards, and all other monopolies in other markets. After these monopolies are gone, America's economy will be able to operate the way it was intended to do so. Monopolies are rising within America's economy, and it's a huge problem. The government must do something to put an end to these monopolies, or else the economy will not be able to function the way it was intended to do so. If the Sherman Antitrust Act is enforced stricter, many smaller businesses will be able to operate without the daily fear of these supergiant companies destroying them.